farmer in Saskatchewan harvested one section, which is 640 acres, of wheat and two sections of barley. The total yield of grain for both areas was 99,840 bushels. The wheat sold for $6.35 per bushel, and the barley sold for $2.70 per bushel. The farmer received $363,008 for both crops. What was the yield of each section in bushels per acre? Okay, so first off, this question is probably going to be more of a challenge question, right? This would be a bit more difficult, but and it is probably just the problem is setting it up, right? So let's set up the first part here. So we know that we're looking for something in bushels per acre, right? And he harvested the first section with wheat, and it was 640 acres, right? So we could say 640 acres, right? And let's actually just put the units for a second too, right? So if we had 640 acres, right? Well, if I multiply that by, let's just say for a second that we had like 50 bushels per acre, just some number, right? Just to throw a number into it for a second. If we multiplied that by like 50 and then bushels per acre, do you see that the acres would cancel and we'd end up with just bushels? So that would end up telling us how many bushels we actually made for the 640 acres. Okay, so but this is what we're looking for. It's not 50. In this case, this is just going to be our wheat, right? So it's going to be 640 acres times W. So 640 W. And then we're going to add that to the second field, right? So in the second field, it was barley, and it was two sections, which would be double 640. So that's going to be 1280 times barley, right? Where the B stands for the bushels per acre for the barley. All right, so now we know that all adds up to 99,840 bushels. Okay, so now just take note of what we have here. That was the bushels. So bushels for what was that, wheat? This will help in a second just to do this, but and then that was your bushels for barley. Okay. So now let's work on the next one. So now the second part here says that the wheat sold for $6. Here, let's do this in a different color. So $6.35 per bushel. All right, so per bushel. So I'm going to have to multiply that by something here, right? Really, what I'm going to have to multiply it by is the number of bushels, because I want this thing to be a dollar value, right? Because here, I'll write it out. So I've got this much per bushels multiplied by something. I'll just leave that in brackets. Plus 275 per bushel, or 270 or $2.70 per bushel. I'm going to multiply that by something else. Well, I know in the end that's going to equal my total dollar value. So that's going to be equal to $363,008. And just dollars. Okay, so in the end, I end up with dollars. So I want to multiply by something here that's going to cancel out bushels, right? So I want this to be the bushels, and I want this first one to be the bushels for wheat, right? This will be like the bushels for wheat. We'll go in here. So what we have to do now is actually we're going to put in 640W, because that is our bushels for wheat. Okay, so 640W. So that'll be 640 times W. Okay, and in the other one, that's going to be our 1280B. So this was in units of bushels, and this was in units of bushels, so those would cancel with the ones on the bottom now, right? But let's clean that up a little bit. We'll make this look a little bit nicer. let's actually multiply the 635 by the 640. Okay, just to make it just a single number instead. So now we've got 40 times 635. So now that would be 4064 W plus, and then this one was 270 times 1280. So this one was plus 3,456 B, and that's equal to $363,008. All right, so there's our two equations. So I know that that was another step, right? That was definitely a more difficult question, but we have our two equations. Now we've got that one and the one below it. All right, so I'm gonna write the blue one underneath again, just so we can kind of get set up here. So the top one was 640. Come on, pen. 640 W plus 1280 B is equal to that. All right, so now doing different methods here, I could try to figure out if I can like cancel something, you know, using elimination. I don't think that's going to work out so nice. So why don't we do the substitution method? Okay, there is probably no great one to use. I'm going to rearrange the blue one, I think, for W. Why not? So I'm going to bring this 1280B to that side. So we've got 640W is equal to, doesn't matter which way we're at it, so I'll go 9,840 minus 1280B, and then I'm just going to divide everything by 640. So divide everything, so this by 640 and this by 640. So we got W is equal to, so we end up with 156, so that worked out nice. And then minus, and this one's going to work out nice too, this ends up being 2B. Okay, so we've rearranged it for W. Perfect. Now we're going to put this one into the red one, right? So that red one, we'll just write that out again. So I'm doing this one now. Would be 4,064, but instead of a W, I'm going to put in what W is, right? I'm going to replace it with that expression for B. Okay, so we're going to have 156 minus 2B, and then plus, just back up to this part, 3,456 B is equal to that. All right, now we're going to distribute this. All right, so the first one we get here is this large number, 633,984, and then minus 8,128B plus all this. All right, now I'm going to collect my like terms. So we've got 633, 984. These collect to 4,672 B, which is equal to this. All right, and then we will subtract this from both sides, or bring it over there. So yeah, I'll write it out. Minus 6. So those cancel. Those cancel, or those don't cancel, sorry, those, we'll add that. So now we've got is equal to negative 270,976, and then just last thing, we're just going to divide this on both sides. we get 58. All that to get 58. All right, so that's how that was for barley. Now we just need wheat, right? So now we can take that from either one of the equations. So we already have a nice equation. We rearranged this one for wheat already, right? Let's just use that one. So then wheat would be equal to 156 minus 2b. So wheat would be 156 minus 2 times 58. So the wheat would be 40. And then just remember what we were looking for here. This was bushels per acre, right? So each of these would be in bushels per acre.